October 1954. A young friar stops in front of a closed door. Inside he hears a voice whispering something impossible. What he's about to witness will forever change everything you thought you knew about the Rosary. But this wasn't an isolated event. 7 different witnesses, across different years, documented exactly the same thing. Doctors, priests, ordinary people. All of them saw Padre Pio experience something that defies any logical explanation. And the most shocking part, the last vision he had, 3 days before he died, revealed exactly what happens to your rosary prayers after you leave this world. Stay until the end, because what you're about to discover could completely transform your spiritual life. In the damp walls of the San Giovanni Rotondo monastery, Brother Raffaele walked toward Padre Pio's cell to deliver some letters. It was an ordinary afternoon, like any other. Or so he thought. As he approached, he heard a voice coming from inside. He stopped. Something in that whisper prevented him from knocking. This was clearly a moment of deep prayer. But what he heard next froze his blood. "Look, Lord, how they ascend to heaven like perfumed incense," Padre Pio murmured with a trembling voice. "Each Hail Mary is like a rose, rising toward your throne. Each mystery, a light piercing through the darkness of the world." Brother Raffaele, unable to contain his curiosity, quietly approached the half-open door, and what he saw paralyzed him. Padre Pio was kneeling before the crucifix. His hands held the rosary, but his eyes looked upward with an expression of absolute astonishment, as if he were contemplating something invisible to others. Tears rolled down his cheeks, marked by the stigmata. But the most disturbing thing was that he moved his lips, as if he were conversing with someone present in the room. "Brother, death is not the end," the holy friar whispered to the void. "It's only the moment when the prayers of the Rosary accompany us to the other side. I see them, Lord. I see them ascending like a golden ladder toward your kingdom." For the next several minutes, Brother Raffaele witnessed something that would mark his life forever. Padre Pio described in a low voice what his spiritual eyes were contemplating. Millions of Hail Marys rising from all over the earth like brilliant lights, forming luminous pathways connecting heaven to earth. He spoke of souls that, at the moment of their departure from this world, were escorted by these prayers to the divine presence. Each rosary prayed with faith, Padre Pio murmured, becomes a rope that God extends to rescue souls from purgatory. "I see them. They're there, waiting for each Hail Mary, as if it were a drop of fresh water in their thirst for eternity." When Brother Raffaele finally dared to enter, he found Padre Pio with a radiant face, though visibly exhausted. "Father," he asked timidly, "what have you seen?" The Saint of Pietrelcina looked at him with eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of heaven, and responded, "My son, if people truly knew what happens when they pray the Rosary, there wouldn't be a single moment of the day when this prayer didn't resonate throughout the entire earth." Pattern interrupt, but wait. Because what a doctor documented years later would reveal something even more terrifying. 3:15 to 5:45, Second Revelation. The shield at the moment of death. Dr. Giorgio Festa wasn't a man easily impressed. As the physician who treated Padre Pio, he had witnessed the stigmata, had examined the wounds that bled without medical explanation. He thought he'd seen it all. Until 1956. In his notes, written with a trembling hand, he documented something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Padre Pio had entered ecstasy during rosary prayer. When he returned, with tears in his eyes, he described to the doctor what he had just witnessed, the exact moment when a person dies. "Doctor," Padre Pio said with a broken voice, "I just saw the instant when a soul departs from this world, and what I saw changes everything." According to Dr. Festa's testimony, Padre Pio explained that in that crucial moment between life and death, all the rosaries that person had prayed throughout their life manifested as a protective light surrounding them. It's as if each Hail Mary became a guardian angel. Padre Pio told the doctor, "I saw how these prayers formed a luminous shield protecting the soul from the final temptations of the evil one. But not only that, they also became intercessors before the divine tribunal, presenting that soul's virtues and good works with an eloquence that no human words could match." The doctor was so impacted that he began systematically documenting every mystical experience Padre Pio had related to the Rosary. In March 1957, he wrote another entry that's still preserved today. "Today, Padre Pio described something extraordinary to me. During his morning prayer, he was spiritually transported to a place he called the Garden of Prayers. There, each rosary prayed with sincerity manifested as a flowering plant. And the fruits of these plants were the graces that God then granted to those who had prayed. But none of these testimonies compared to what he was about to reveal about the mysteries of the Rosary. Father Pellegrino Funicelli shared long hours of prayer with Padre Pio. But that winter night was different. They were praying the Rosary together in the deserted church when, suddenly, Padre Pio stopped at the third joyful mystery, his eyes fixed on a specific point on the altar, and he began to cry with an intensity Father Funicelli had never seen. When the ecstasy ended, Padre Pio was trembling. "I saw the moment of Jesus' birth in Bethlehem," he said with a barely audible voice, but not as a scene from the past, but as something that happens each time someone prays that mystery with true devotion. Padre Pio explained that he had seen the Virgin Mary, eternally young and radiant, receiving each Hail Mary as if it were the angel Gabriel's greeting, repeating endlessly through the centuries. "The most beautiful thing," he continued, "is that each time someone meditates on Christ's birth while praying the Rosary, they mystically participate in that sacred moment." He had seen souls from all ages gathered in spirit in that Bethlehem stable, adoring the Christ child. "I understood that the Rosary is not just a prayer," Padre Pio revealed. "It has a spiritual time machine that allows us to be present in the most sacred moments of salvation history." This revelation led Father Funicelli to ask him about the other mysteries. With patience, Padre Pio explained that he had seen something similar with each one. "When we meditate on the crucifixion, we don't just remember a historical event. Spiritually, we place ourselves at the foot of the cross, alongside Mary and John. Each Hail Mary becomes a drop of balm on Christ's wounds, and he looks at us with the same love he looked at his mother in his final moments." And about the glorious mysteries, he revealed something that made Father Funicelli tremble. "I saw how each time someone meditates on Christ's resurrection while praying the Rosary, the souls being purified in purgatory receive a ray of hope that alleviates their suffering. It's as if the light of the resurrection pierced through the barriers of time and space to illuminate those places of purification." But what he revealed to a desperate mother would prove that these visions weren't just mystical experiences, but realities that change lives. Maria Pile was a mother with a broken heart. Her son had completely turned away from the faith, immersed in a life of excess and spiritual emptiness. She had traveled from the United States to San Giovanni Rotondo, desperately seeking Padre Pio's help, and what she witnessed changed everything. Padre Pio took her rosary and began to pray for her son's conversion. He had barely begun the first mystery when he entered ecstasy. Maria watched with her heart pounding. The saint's eyes filled with a supernatural light, and he began to smile, as if he were seeing something marvelous and invisible to her. When he returned from the vision, Padre Pio took her hands and said with absolute certainty, "Daughter, I have seen your son surrounded by a multitude of angels. Each rosary you've prayed for him during these years has become a celestial guardian protecting and guiding him, though he doesn't know it." Maria began to cry. Padre Pio continued, "A mother's rosary prayers for her children create an invisible network of grace that accompanies them wherever they go. Though your son may seem deaf to God's voice, the Hail Marys you pray for him are like seeds germinating silently in his heart." And then he made a prophecy that seemed impossible. "The day will come when they'll all bloom together, and he will return to the Father's house." Maria returned to the United States with that promise in her heart, praying the Rosary every day with renewed faith. If this video impacted you, leave me in the comments. I will pray the Rosary today. And if you know someone who needs to hear these revelations, share this video now. May Padre Pio's prayers intercede for all of us.